Hi, Hudl community. My name is Lindsay Langford. I'm a sports dietitian at St. Vincent Sports Performance in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm going to share with you guys today a little bit around sports nutrition and some top tips for coaches to think about, especially during this time when you're probably cooped up inside. So let's get started as I share screen with you here. Give me just a second. Make sure we figure this out. All right, here we go. So, food for fuel, top 5 sports nutrition tips for you as coaches that you can hopefully share with your team. So, let's get started. First of all, a little background on myself is that I have been a sports dietitian for about 12 years at St. Vincent Sports Performance. We, again, are a hospital-based sports performance facility in Indianapolis, Indiana. And through them, I have had the pleasure and the honor of being able to support several teams that you can see. Indiana Pacers, Butler University, been with the Colts for 3 seasons, no longer with the Colts at the moment. They have hired full-time, which is great. And I am with U.S. Soccer, their women's national team. Background is that I went to school at University of Alabama, got my master's degree at Louisiana Tech University. And so have a true passion for sports nutrition and really live by this motto. You can't outtrain a bad diet. You can't outtrain a bad diet. And I really just believe in this and feel that if we can preach this to our athletes, that some wheels will start to turn and light bulbs start to go off, especially if we can get them at a young age. This was Gordon Hayward. Have worked with him for many years at Butler University and as he went through the NBA draft. And when interviewed by ESPN magazine, they asked him, what's one piece of advice that you would give to athletes to take their game to the next level? And he said, I think the biggest part that people underestimate is nutrition. If you don't eat right and don't give your body the right fuel, it won't go. And so that is something that I just think is really powerful that kind of spoke to him, especially as he started to get older. So I'm going to give you guys just 5 quick tips, and these are hot topics when it comes to nutrition. So I want to make sure that you as a coach are equipped to answer a few questions, maybe even find some resources, and ultimately refer to even professionals for this. But 5 topics that we'll cover: timing of fuel, quality, fluids, recovery, nutrition, and a little bit on supplements. All right, so you think of the timing of the athlete's fuel, and to me, this is the foundation. This is the first thing that I really focus on when working with any new athlete. Most of the time, our high school kids are running anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 calories is really what they need in the day. What a lot of times we see, though, are these big spikes, big what I call food dumps. They don't eat breakfast. These are what I think of as just energy levels. They don't eat breakfast. They get to lunch. They have a pretty decent sized lunch. They go throughout their school day. They hit another massive meal when they get home from school and after practices, and then they come back down and go into sleep mode. That's a very inefficient way to fuel the body. We need kind of this steady chart. We need some fuel in the morning. We need some at lunch, potentially snacks at school, snack before workout. And then we have dinner as well. So I really encourage to stop the food dumps and trying to get more consistent fuel within your athletes' diets and days. So when I'll give you an example here in just a minute to show you what that really looks like. But if I have to think of kind of the most important time for our athletes to fuel, I call it the bookends of training. Your pre-training, that you're well fueled going into practice. During practice, we focus on hydration, and then post-practice, we cap that off with another bookend, needing some carbs and protein post-workout. So I love to educate on the bookends and really encourage that for athletes as their prime fueling times. So what does their typical day look like? I took 3,000 calories. This is probably your more of a male athlete, more than likely, but what that kind of looks like in the day and really spread out is that we have a pretty solid breakfast. We've got lunch, pre-practice snack. After practice, we've got recovery nutrition, which we're going to talk a little bit more in detail on, some dinner, and then a night snack before they go to bed. And one of the biggest things that these high school kids, middle school, and gosh, even adults now, but it is really failing to plan is planning to fail. We have to get these kids to start thinking around planning their day, not leaving the house in the morning without, oh, I need 2 snacks. I need to pack this for pre-practice, and I need something for afterwards. So just a great quote to remember. Balancing your fuel. And so this is something that, I just like the visual of what gas pump do you pull up to? And so most of the time it's going to look like the gas pump on the left, right? Very good visual for you to think about as coaches and how to educate very simply is looking at this slide. Like, what do you see on this slide? You likely see a lot of their favorite foods, but the answer that I look for is that they're all roughly the same color, light, bland, brown, yellow, not much pop to it. But I flip to this slide, you see a lot of pop, you see a lot of color there. All of those colors are little pigments. Those color pigments are antioxidants, and those all have different functions. The red have different functions than the blues. Greens help with blood flow. Blue help with inflammation. I really preach color on a plate. And that's just a super simple kind of goal for them each day is every meal we have to have some color. I'm going to skip this slide, but this is a slide that my colleague, coworker, teammate Anna Turner will be talking to you on in another webinar is how to build a balanced plate for your team. So I'm going to skip over that one, but I do encourage you to watch the next webinar on nutrition by Anna Turner. The third tip and kind of philosophy, main thing to think about is really hydration for your team. It sounds very simple, but it is one that plays such a large role. I mean, look at this, that our muscles are made up of 75% water. If we want those muscles to perform and to contract and to run and jump, they have to be hydrated. And so also think of it from our brain. Our brain is made up of 75% water. For quick reaction time, we have to have that hydration. And so this is just a slide talking about not necessarily daily needs, but more along the lines of if you have a practice and our athletes are losing weight during a practice. So this would require a weigh in and weigh out. But if they're losing in this 3, 4, 5% zone, so a lot of times that's probably anything over that like 4-pound mark for most of your athletes, we're decreasing their output. We're decreasing their power capacity. So here's just a stat. If you lose 5% more in fluid, your work capacity can decrease by 30%. That was one study. They're going to lose some, they're going to sweat, but we really want to try to minimize that output. And that just means like you can't control how much they sweat. That's one thing, but you can control how much they replace. So as a coach, especially as we head into these hotter months, please, please, please set that timer for every 15 minutes to rehydrate because you're going to get a whole lot more out of your athletes. But on a consistent daily basis, how much should you drink? And the answer is really half of their body weight in fluid ounces per day, all right? That ideally does not include the fluids that they consume during a practice. It does include not just water, but water, tea, milk, sports drinks can be included in that. But I don't count sodas, I don't count coffee, I don't count fruit punch. So I really want trying to push water at that time. We're going to skip that YouTube video, but I do encourage them to carry a water bottle at all times. So as a coach, maybe that's one rule and takeaway that your team you emphasize is as a coach, you encourage your team to just carry a water bottle all the time. And then set hydration schedules for them. Yeah, as I said, maybe it's every 15 minutes during a practice is something that I would encourage. But for them to also think about, here's what I do in real life is when you're going through school, let's say it's a high school athlete, I want by the time you hit lunchtime that you have completed one of these water bottles. Then I want you to fill it up at lunch, and by the time school ends, I want you to finish a second one so that they have kind of this hydration schedule and a goal for them in order to get half of their body weight in fluid ounces per day. One other tool that you can utilize as a coach when it comes to hydration and fluids is a urine color chart. I encourage you to even do just a Google search. I've put these up in bathrooms of teams, in schools, above the urinals. And it really just shows urine color. If it's below this red line, then they're likely dehydrated or at risk of dehydration symptoms. If they're above the red line, then they're good. I use the term, we want to see some light lemonade, not apple juice from our athletes. So maybe think about that as a simple hydration tool and resource. All right, my fourth one here is recovery nutrition. So here are the 3 R's, but here's before we talk about that, how I describe it is what's the most important time to fuel throughout your day? Most people will say breakfast. And that is certainly true, but from a physiological standpoint, the muscles are able to absorb more nutrients post-workout than at any other time throughout their day, and from a hormone level as well. So if we're gonna make strides with nutrition and have improvements in muscle gain, in training adaptations, and body composition, this is the most important time to fuel your athletes. So kind of reasons why is that first, we're replacing fluid and glycogen or carbs that are lost during practice. Second, we're going to repair some torn and stressed muscles that naturally occur during a good hard training session. And then third, we want to rebound and we want those muscles to grow and adapt to the training that we're doing. So it's kind of termed the glycogen window, and it's 30 minutes post-workout that we want to get some kind of recovery nutrition in. So what does that look like? We need carbohydrates and we need proteins. We aim, if you're really wanting to get nitpicky, somewhere within that 1:1 to 4:1 ratio. Carbs actually higher. A lot of people, we're typically trying to put a focus on that protein intake, usually wanting anywhere from 15 to your smaller, more petite females to 30 grams of protein for maybe your larger lineman football guys. That's our protein range. And then we would need to at least match that at a 1:1, if not on the upper end of a 4:1 ratio with carbs. So oftentimes you may see tons of protein shakes, but there are no carbohydrates in it. That is not beneficial for our athletes. And more, though, that's what the market is trending towards. So be mindful of that. So some examples, Muscle Milk does make a collegiate version. It's harder to find, but I like it because it's right at a 2:1 ratio. Plain Muscle Milk, you're looking at less than a 1:1 ratio. There are different protein bars, but chocolate milk is right at a 3:1 ratio. That's what makes it such a great recovery source. It can be smoothies, shakes, or honestly even getting home to dinner. If they do that within 30 minutes of a practice, then they're pretty good. At this time, we also want to limit some of the fatty foods and delay absorption of those proteins and carbs. So, well, there we go, guys. There's some little visuals for you. Some good shakes, bars, and then just that timeline of what we try to hit. My fifth and final topic is just supplements. This is something that I even questioned bringing up. But I do think as a coach, you're probably asked about supplements. And I want to show this video, but I know because it's a webinar, we are running short on time. But I will just tell you that like this industry of supplements is not regulated by our government, and it's a massive industry. There are Very little, if any, research done on a lot of the supplements under the age of 18. And so it's simply something that I just don't recommend for anyone that's under the age of 18 most of the time. Is it okay to take a multivitamin? Probably. Is it okay, honestly, even to take a fish oil? Maybe if you don't eat fish. What about calcium and vitamin D? Probably okay. Protein shakes, if needed, kind of thing. But when you talk about supplements, here's what I think about. First of all, is their nutrition up to par, or are they trying to put a Band-Aid on a very poor foundation? So that's usually is the case, and there's so much more that we can do from the nutrition front than we will be able to do by any supplement. So that's first and foremost. But secondly, is it safe? And maybe this is really first and foremost. If they were going to take it, I have to know that it's something safe, that we could never recommend anything that would put them at risk. And then is it effective? So is this even something that's going to make a difference? When it comes to safety, I encourage you all to look at this link. I'll see if this works. This is NSF for Sports website. And basically, this is a third-party testing company where you send supplements to, and they test for any banned substances. They also test for the purity to make sure that what's actually on the label is in the product. And I think that it's something they do have an app you can obviously download, but what it looks like, well, I'll show you just some screenshots, but essentially you can go in and you can click on protein powders, and it will tell you these protein powders are NSF certified. You can also click here on certified products. And again, well, let's go here. You can browse for, let's say, a hydration. Well, I don't know. This is a hot topic, right? Post-workout. So I'm going to browse and see what products are NSF certified. So you can scroll through all of these and see all of these will have that blue seal on them. So here's one. You can see it right there, that blue circle. So that's probably my biggest takeaway for you as a coach, is that I want you to be equipped with this as a resource. If somebody asks you about a supplement, it really needs to be NSF certified. Otherwise, we have no idea what's in that product, all right? So that's kind of the quick answer on supplements. So here's a bit of my recap for you. Number one, timing of fuel. Really trying to get your athletes to eat 3 meals and 1 to 3 snacks a day. Stop food dumping and stop backloading. It's something I didn't really talk about on that slide, but we don't want all of our calories at night before we go to bed. We need to spread those out more through your day. Protect the bookends of training. Number 2, balancing your fuel. We want to add color to every meal. Number 3 is hydration. We need half your body weight in fluid ounces per day. Carry a water bottle. Encourage recovery nutrition within 30 minutes post-workout. And if we have questions on supplements, really seek a professional is what I encourage you to do. But then also really lean on that NSF Certified for Sport app. So as a coach, sometimes I'll leave you guys with this. What are 2 goals? Maybe it is for you. Maybe it's for your athletes that you learned from this or you feel like you can implement, and encourage you to do so. Also encourage you just to check us out. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll have more information about St. Vincent Sports Performance. We're going to have some workshops for coaches that you can sign up for, some classes for potentially some of your athletes, learning more about nutrition, some weight gain classes. We'd be happy for you guys to send me an email if you have any questions. We do some virtual presentations for your team as well. So would love to be able to do that, virtual coaching, nutrition coaching, and can work with athletes one-on-one virtually just like this, almost anywhere in the country. So would encourage you to reach out if you have any questions. Would love to work with you as a coach, you as your athletes, your parents, your families, your teams. Thanks for having me, Hudl family, and best wishes throughout the rest of this quarantine time. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.